Mhm.
So there's some topics that I used to do when I was working with singles. And for 13 years, I helped singles to navigate this season called singleness. And especially if you are a Christian, because
Mhm.
as a Christian single, you have certain things you want to do and you feel like you shouldn't be doing. As a Christian single, you want to keep yourself for the person that God has for you. You want to have standards. You don't want to settle. You don't want to compromise. And so I'm speaking right now to singles for a minute, and I'm just going to bring you into this, Anetta, because we want to, in the future, we're going to talk a little bit about singleness, about marriage, and about divorce. So what I'm finding out is that there are a lot of singles that have given up on love. They've given up on believing and trusting that there's a person out there that's right for them because it hasn't happened yet.
Mhm.
And you are weary. And I just want you to know we get it. I get it.
Yes.
Because you can start looking at what's wrong with me that I haven't been chosen. And I'm here to tell you there's nothing wrong with you. You have
Nothing.
standards. You have standards. And so you have decided, look, if you wanted a man or a woman, there are lots of them out there. There's
Yes.
somebody out there ready for you right now. But you have standards. So what I want to leave in this little preview of coming attractions is that Anetta and I are going to tackle the subject of singleness, marriage, and divorce. And I'm going to say this one thing, then I'm going to shut up, Anetta. The reason why we want to do the divorce one is because other people, okay, singles feel it's too late, didn't happen, giving up. Some people get a divorce and feel like game over.
Yeah,
That's
well,
the
I
end.
thought that was going to fix my problem.
Neither one will fix your problem, to be
No.
honest. Being in a relationship won't fix a problem if you're broken. That's why
Yeah.
you want to be a whole person as much as you can going into a relationship and be the best version of you.
You cannot be Swiss cheese going into a relationship where
What
you
does that
got
mean?
all kind of holes.
Oh,
You
yeah.
looking for somebody to fill them. You're the
So,
only
Anetta,
one who can do that.
let's give them a preview of that then, Anetta. So, when it comes to, say, attracting, let's talk about that for a minute, Anetta. What do you see maybe as some barriers that might keep someone single longer than they want to be, or um, that they can do to even make themselves maybe maybe more attractive to the
Well,
person that they want to attract.
the thing is, and I heard a dating coach say this, you don't attract the wrong people, you accept the wrong people.
Mm.
Because you're going to be attractive to somebody somewhere, sometime.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean because that person is attracted to you, they are good for you.
True.
We
True.
think everybody who's attracted to us, we have to give them an opportunity to come into our world. No, you don't. Because then you start settling because you think there's nobody else out there. There are billions of people on this planet, billions of them. Your life is too short to be with someone who A, doesn't respect you, doesn't honor you, doesn't listen to you, who treats you as if you were put here to serve them. And there are people who have accepted relationships like that just to have somebody. Well, you just doubled any problems you thought you had when you were single. Because now
Yes.
you got your twisted stuff that you haven't dealt with, and then you got their twisted stuff. So you also have to look at who's coming into your life because they're a reflection of what you're putting out. And if you don't like who's showing up, it is not about them. It's not about them. You know what
So you
Michael
know what I
Jackson
think?
says, start with the man in the mirror. Women too.
I like that. You know what I think? So there's two things that I think. Oh man, you said so much just now. I had 10 thoughts at once. One thing I want to say is that sometimes we can misinterpret an attraction because some people sometimes you know what would solve it for a lot of singles right now is companionship, not necessarily a relationship that has to lead to marriage. I remember before I got married, there were several people that came into my life that I could have been thinking, is this the one? But instead of doing that, I embraced the friendship. And the
Yes.
friendship was extremely valuable without the expectations. Man,
Oh, I love that, Bob, because
without the expectations.
that's what I did with my husband. Um, I just wanted to know who he was as a person. And I thought if he were a woman I met that I wanted to become friends with, how would I deal with him differently? And I just looked at him as a human being who I thought was interesting and wanted to know more about him, not an agenda, a plot, a plan. And it ended up being a very easy friendship because I didn't have an ulterior motive. Now, yes, was I attracted to him? Of course, I ended up marrying him. But I looked at him first as what kind of human being has this person chosen to be?
And you enjoyed the company, you enjoyed the
Yes,
friendship. As a matter of fact, really, that's the best thing you can even do when it comes to, like, we're supposed to be giving you a preview right now, but we're giving you some tips too. That's one of the best things you can do. I share it this way: you don't hit the ball when you playing baseball and run to second base. So first base is friendship. Friendship.
I think we lost Bob, but what we were talking about was using the analogy of a baseball game. You know, you go to first base, you don't run to third. There is a progression. And a lot of times we get in trouble in relationships when we try to go to third base before rounding to first and second. And then ask yourself, what's the rush? You know, if you say, I'm running out of time, how do you know that? You don't ultimately have control of this, hourglass that is your life. There are people who are finding love, getting married, forming wonderful, healthy relationships in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And you know why? Because they made the mess in their 20s, 30s, and 40s and in 50s, and now they get what's important. So what I was talking about, Bob, when you were coming back, is using the analogy of the baseball game. You know, you don't hit the ball and go to third base. You got to go around the bases. And a lot of times we want to short circuit that process because we don't think we have time. We don't know how much time we have.
Oh, that's a good point too, Annetta. You know, that is a really good point, is when the clock is ticking. But wow, there's so much we could say on that. So let me just say this. This is supposed to be a preview. For those of you that are in any of these stages, you're single and you're trusting for the right person. We just kind of laid out a nugget for you, that before you knew you were going to marry this man, you enjoyed his company, his friendship,
It was the
which
journey.
it was the journey. With Sherry,
Yeah.
we dated 2.5 years, almost 3 years before we got married, because part of that was because of the story I'm going to tell you all of how that even came about.
Well, let me say
But for
this. Michael and I dated for 6 years. We got married on our sixth anniversary. Now, what if
hey,
I had said, okay, we've been together 2 years, what you gonna do?
yeah, yeah. And the moment you bring expectations and create that pressure, it changes the nature of the relationship.
And
It
you can't go
changes
back. You can't go back to what it
when they
was.
don't call you when you thought they should have, when they don't do something you're now expecting them to do.
Ooh, okay. Got another quote for you.
Okay.
Expectations are premeditated resentment.
Wow. Meaning, when it doesn't happen according to your expectation, you already are going to be
You
disappointed and may have
you
resentment.
have the right to resent, be mad, get upset because of your expectation. Most of the time, the other person doesn't know your expectation. Keep in mind,
That's important too.
rarely do they know your expectation, but if they don't meet it, now you got an excuse to be mad.
All right. So Oh, this is so good. I knew it would be Anetta. I knew it. Hey, look, this is preview. This is not even the
This
main.
is
This
like
is not the.
potato chips. We were only
the,
going to
the
eat one.
but what I want to say is this. So let me jump to marriage for a minute and just give you this little teeny. I've been married for 30 years. I can tell you, it's not the rapture, but it's the awesome part of your life to find the right person. I found the right person. I waited for the right person. I had many relationships before, or several, not many, but enough. But I was blessed to find the right person. And I'm going to answer the $1,000,000 question that most singles had when I was working with the singles for 13 years. How do you know when you found the right person?
Okay.
We're not answering that
I'd
question
like for
tonight,
you to answer that. And I want to answer that too.
but we're not answering it tonight, but we are going to answer it. So for those of you that like this, then let us know that you want to hear more. And we'll make sure that you are informed when we do this, because there's so much richness here. The last little thing, we don't have to go into detail, but Anetta, you've been through a divorce.
Yeah.
Is first of all, is it the end? And for somebody that's been through one and feels like a failure, I mean, I don't know how far we want to go. Maybe the 2-minute version, they feel like it was their fault. What would you say to that person?
I think you grieve the loss of anything, especially a
Yes,
relationship with a
yes,
person you've committed yourself to. Uh, but I don't think the end of that relationship means you are a failure,
right,
because it takes two people to make a marriage work, and one person can end it.
true.
It takes two to make it work, but one can end it. So instead of, I've tried it, I'm a failure, I'm no good at this, why are you giving one person that kind of power to determine
Wow.
the trajectory of the rest of your life?
Yeah.
You're saying because this didn't work with this one human being, there's no other human being on the planet that you can have a healthy relationship with.
And there are people that do choose to never open up to love again. That does happen. We're going to talk about that too.
Yeah.
And
Divorce
so,
doesn't have to mean disaster. I'm very clear on why my marriage ended. Very clear.
oh, yeah. And
But
thank you for even,
that comes from doing the work on myself. So when you
and
do the work on yourself, you don't have to point any fingers at anybody else, because it's never about the other person. It's never about the other person. It's about you and what you need to learn about you.
ouch, that one hurts. But it's the truth anyway.
It is the
It's the
truth,
truth anyway.
because you can't
It's,
control anybody else.
man,
You
I
can't
have,
even look. You're a parent. I'm a parent. At some point, our kids were 2 and 3 years old. You couldn't control a 3-year-old. I couldn't control a 2-year-old. So how are you going to control another grown person?
yeah, the best thing that you can do to be the right partner for someone else is to do the work on yourself.
Be
And
healthy
you said that,
yourself.
Annette. You said that. So
There's
I'm
no
gonna
shortcut. There is no shortcut to doing the work on you. So
do
I
it.
think that's a good place for us
Yep.
to leave people knowing we will fill in the blanks. Promise.